Well, hello. I didn't see you there. Welcome to Melfuzz Movies. Welcome to 121. This is just kind of a thought piece. I saw a couple of things on Twitter, and it gave me an idea for a topic to discuss a little bit. Something that I obviously feel somewhat strongly about, and it's the idea of the guilty pleasure. I use quotations when I say that because basically I've seen the sentiment a couple of times recently, but I've seen it here or there for years at this point. The idea that the guilty pleasure label is a cop out and that no one should feel ashamed for liking something, and if you like it, then it's good, and then it's good, and then stop calling it guilty or something to that effect. And basically, I just want to ultimately give the my damnation of that sentiment because not because first of all, I don't really use the term guilty pleasure myself all that much. Certainly not these days. Maybe I used it back in my teens or something like that when I was kind of forming my more critical and analytical side of thinking about movies and storytelling. But it's certainly not something I use all that much these days. But it doesn't necessarily mean I don't have the sentiment baked into how I like certain things. It is possible to recognize something as objectively not that great, but love it anyway. It's possible to understand that something is not the technical marvel and it's not the cinema tour de force, to use really pretentious phrasing, but ultimately when you hear me praise Chopping Mall because I freaking love Chopping Mall, and I almost swore there, I'm trying not to. It's, I'm not comparing it in the same way. I'm not saying I love it in the exact same way that I say I love Rear Window by Hitchcock or most things by Christopher Nolan, even to just use a sort of more mainstream contemporary, like, well respected director. It's a very different thing, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having layers to critique and layers of different types of love for media. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. To me, the thing that strikes me about people who say you shouldn't use the term guilty pleasure, you just like something and you don't, is one, those people will often say that saying that you have a guilty pleasure is elitist. I will counter that by saying that no one should use the term guilty pleasure, you either like it or you don't, is equally elitist. It's equally trying to kind of gatekeep something in different ways. But ultimately, I see it as kind of like reducing critique and reducing everything about talking about movies and stories. You're taking that and you're reducing it down to, do I like it or do I don't? And that's a good starting point, but there's more to it than that. That's not that interesting. Do I like it or not? No one's saying shitting things that you like, and no one's saying that you have to love something that everyone else says is great if you just happen to not like it. But one of the very reasons I get into talking about movies and thinking about them critically and analysing them more than perhaps your typical person is because I wanted to be able to explain why I love something when I love it and when I don't love something. I didn't want to just be this confusing thing. Why do I love this movie but hate, like, what's it? Just because we reviewed them recently on this, why do I love The Matrix but really hate The Matrix Reloaded? Why do I feel that way? It's not a case of going into it and going, oh, I objectively see all the faults, and therefore, I will decide I dislike it. No one's deciding they dislike. Well, I mean, some people do. I mean, that's just a bad faith take, though. I feel something, and then I try to figure out why I feel that way. What is the film doing that is making me not engaged? What is the film doing that is this, or this? And alternatively, when you have something like a Chopping Mall, which I unabashedly love, and films of that ilk, of the cheesy 80s kind of slasher, horror sci-fi, whatever you want to put that into, what do I love about those things? There's certain tropes that I just kind of have a soft spot for. There's things that I enjoy, and I enjoy the bloody carnage. I enjoy the cheesy characters. I enjoy the attitude of a lot of those movies, and kind of just the almost the wearing the what they are on their sleeve quality that a lot of them have, which to me has a charm, but they're not, it's not a great movie. It's not something, but I feel the people who made it love what they were doing. They felt passion for what they were making, and they were never trying to make some award-winning, critically lauded film, and that's okay. But all I'm really saying is that there are more layers to your opinion on a film or anything else for that matter beyond just either I like it or I don't. And you can recognize that something is objectively not amazing, but still love it. And perhaps that's interesting, and it says a lot about your taste and about some of the things that you do appreciate. And it maybe says more about you as a character, the things that are objectively bad that you still love, more than the stuff that is objectively good and you love. But of course, those are still very important. They're still arguably more important because there's a reason why you love them. You love them because they're just that well made, because they have the story, the characters, the technical craft, whatever it may be. I don't get this. Stop using guilty pleasure. You either like something or you don't. No. I spend all my time talking about movies and TV because it's more complicated than that. There's layers to it. In fact, the word that I love to use, because it's the thing that I feel that when internet discourse gets this way, it's what people lack. They at least lack the understanding of, is nuance. There is nuance to all of this. There is nuance to why you like the films you like. There's nuance to why those movies are great. There's if the movies are good, certainly there'll be nuance to the characters, there'll be nuance to the storytelling. It's not just simple as a thumbs up or a thumbs down, which is why I've never gravitated towards that. Not everything should boil down to numbers and ratings out of 10s or 5s, but there's a reason why I've never liked going under 10 as a scale, because I don't think thumbs up or thumbs down is useful. It's basically meaningless in and of itself, because ultimately it can't gauge what your spectrum of taste is off that. Not you can really gauge it off just a out of 10 score either. I mean, again, actual discussion, actual conversation, actual study and analysis of what you like about something, and proclaiming that love, if I can speak, as opposed to, if someone just says something's a guilty pleasure, it's just shorthand for, hey, it's not like art by any means, but I get a kick out of it, and that's okay. There is nothing wrong with that. If you think that I am going to accept that my love for Chopping Mall and my love for, say, John Carpenter's Halloween are equals, and that those two are to be side by side, and there's nothing more, between them than that, then that is laughable, and that doesn't make any sense. What I'm going to praise Halloween. I'm going to talk about all the things that it does. That it's really smart, and the way it plays with the camera and the suspense and the pacing and the editing. None of which Chopping Mall has. What Chopping Mall has is goofy robots that fire laser beams that explode heads, and that's wonderful. But it's not to be celebrated in the same way. Like I say, though, I don't really use the phrase myself, but I think it's worth mentioning that it is just a figure of speech. It's not literal. No one's actually feeling guilty about the things they like, which seems to be a sentiment that always seems to go around with people who don't like the phrase. Like, why should you feel guilty? Well, no one literally feels guilty about it. So yeah, I don't know what this video was. I saw it again. I felt a little bit triggered, I guess. And it's so silly to me that someone wants to take that away and try to take away a level of designation, however you may do it, right? I don't really use the phrase because ultimately I feel that you can tell what type of love I have for a movie based on how I talk about it, based on how I praise it, what I appreciate about it, what I'm calling out as being positive qualities. And ultimately, I don't think I need to distinguish all that much. I think it's very clear when I'm talking about some 80s slasher movie, like, a Friday the 13th sequel, and how much I love one of those, versus when I'm talking about a Nicholas Winding Refn movie, and I'm praising the art style. And that's obviously a very diversive pick as well. Not everyone loves Refn movies. Some people think they're indulgent and don't like the slow pacing and all the rest of it. And then but that becomes more of a real debate, more of an actual discussion about what you like and dislike and how much taste plays into the style of a certain director's work. But yeah, it's okay. A guilty pleasure is okay. It's just a figure of speech, and people are allowed to acknowledge that something isn't amazing, but they love it anyway. Uh, which I mean, let's be honest. I mean, that applies to people for the most part. Most people suck, but you kind of love some of them anyway. So thank you very much. Of course, like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications if you want more of these random movie-related rants and the more produced content and podcasts, of course, that are coming. There should be a new Ace episode tomorrow for everyone, and there should be a new streams this week as well. I'm also working on some other things. I've got several top tens in the works, and of course, a couple of new ideas which I've got cooking away that are taking some time and requiring a little bit more editing and things like that. But hopefully, you'll see some of those popping up soon. But thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys next time.